Hi kids, it's me, Mr. Tony, Monsieur Antoine, and it's time for another video art lesson, a French video art lesson. That's our country of the week, France. And if you recall yesterday, I did made the French flag. We did it like this, 3 colors, red, white, and blue. And I have it here inside the letters, red, white, and blue. That's the French flag. And I did it in an Impressionist style, which means it's kind of fuzzy, kind of soft, with little dabs of color. And you'll notice today, I've added something down here. I've actually made a little picture. What is that? Well, it looks watery, right? I'd say it's water, but what's this stuff floating around in the water? Those are little discs, water lily discs, I guess you'd call them. Water lily pads, actually, that's the correct way to say it. Those are water lily pads. And that is inspired by the great French Impressionist Claude Monet. And here's a painting he did of water lilies on a pond. And here they are, the water lilies. They're little ovals, actually. And they also have flowers. Here's a flower here, a flower here, a flower there. And there's some way back in the distance. And you can see the trees, I guess, reflected in the water, but it's all very watery and very soft. He painted it with a lot of dabs. That's the way he painted Claude Monet. He was an Impressionist. Okay, and that's what we're going to be doing today. A little water lily painting like Claude Monet. I'm going to show you another picture he did, which is maybe a little more clear than the water lilies. And here you can make out a tree, a person, a boat, some houses. But if you look closely, it's really just dabs of paint. Little dabs of paint. And the flowers on the ground there are just little dots of paint. And even the person here is just dabs of color. Everything is kind of soft and dabbed on. Okay, that's Impressionism. And Claude Monet was the greatest Impressionist, I think. There were a bunch of them, a bunch of French Impressionists and American Impressionists too. It was a big art movement because it looked nice, made for very nice paintings. Okay, that would be nice to hang in your home, as would this. Although this is a big painting. These paintings were as big as a wall when he made them. They're really big. Some of them were small, but many were very large. Okay, so how are we going to do a water lily painting? Well, we're going to use a half-size page, right? Because that will be quicker for me to do. I won't spend a lot of time filling it in with a lot of color, crayon color. That would take a bit too much time. You can do a half page as well. I showed you how to tear your paper in half. Or you can do the whole page if you want. I'm just going to do a half page. Okay? And we're going to begin with the pencil. And then we're going to finish it up with crayons. Okay, so here we go. Let's take a look at this picture here. Okay, the water lilies down here. They're just ovals, very flat ovals, because you're looking at the lake kind of from the side. So the water lilies, which I think are actually kind of an oval shape, are actually very much an oval shape when you look at them from the side. Okay, so there's one, a couple. I'm going to make a few over here, a whole bunch, and then maybe a patch of water lilies over here. Now, if any of you have ever been to a pond, you'll notice that water lilies are kind of spread around, but sometimes they're all bunched up. Let me get in closer there. They're little clusters like this. So here's a cluster of water lilies. And here's some down here. Let me make it nice and dark so you can really see it. Okay, just like that. So I have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Okay, that's not too many, 14. Maybe a couple up here way in the distance. And if they're in the distance there, they're going to be much smaller. Okay, so I'm going to make little lily pads up here. Okay, like that. So you see they're big down here, and over here they're a little smaller, and then up here they're much smaller. Okay, and that's it for the drawing part. Now, the water lilies. They are a light green. Well, they're actually dark and light green, but I'd say mostly light green compared to everything else in the painting. Here you have dark greens in the reflection, then over here you have blues and blue greens, but the lily pads are a light green, and I think that's what I'm going to do. Hopefully you have crayons and you're able to work along with this, and you'll have a light green in your crayon box. If you don't, and all you have is green, well, you can use that, and you can just go lightly with it to make a light green. But I'm going to use my light green. Actually, it's a yellow green. So I'm just going to fill those in. And I don't have to be too neat about it. It's Impressionism, so it should be a little rough, a little fuzzy. Some there. Well, and I can just add a few more without even drawing them like that. There, that's pretty good. Okay, now it looks like just a bunch of green spots on my paper, so I'm going to start filling in the water with my blue crayon. And I'm going to do just what I did yesterday with the flag. Little dabs, little dashes of blue. Now you may be tempted to go back and forth and really fill it in, but don't do that. Do little dabs, little dashes like this, because we want it to look like an impressionist water lily painting. You have to be a little bit patient with it. The results will be good. You'll get that nice impressionist texture. What is texture? Well, texture is just the overall feel. Like this is kind of dotted and fuzzy. If I did it perfectly smooth, it would have a smooth texture. Ice is very smooth. The texture of ice is very smooth. If you had a piece of sandpaper and you rubbed your hand on it, you'd say, oh, that's a rough texture. So same idea here. We have kind of a soft, rough texture that I'm getting with these little dashes of color. I may not finish the whole thing up there. It'll take a bit of time. Or if I finish it, I could always speed up the clip a little so you don't see me doing all that work up there. Or you could always just skip ahead. That's the nice thing about doing these video lessons. You can skip ahead, or you can hit pause if you're really working on something, or you can even go back if you miss something. But I think it would be a good idea just to watch the whole thing through straight at least once, and then you can go back here and there if you really need to figure something out. Okay, so that's pretty good with just the blue and green, but now we're going to give it some other shades of, let's say, blue. and this is a blue-green. So I'm going to add that in here and there. Oh, you know what I forgot? I want to put in a flower or two before I fill it all in with the blue. So I'm going to use pink for that. And let's say there's a little flower on that lily pad over there, and then there's a little flower floating over here. Maybe one here, one over here. If you look at Monet's painting, you'll see those lily pads are just kind of pink splotches with a little bit of white too, actually. But they're kind of pinkish and white there and there. See? See, just fuzzy splotches of color. There. There's his signature right there. Claude Monet. And how about some green? Oops, dropped it. Hold on. Some green. This is a darker green. And you'll see in the picture here, there's a lot of green. It looks kind of like seaweed, but I think that is a reflection of the trees that are probably on the opposite side of the pond. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to add some of that dark green. Up there. You're in there. Maybe a little over here. I can even put a little bit of dark green on some of the lily pads there. You know what? I'm going to fill in a little more in between and around the lily pads. Maybe I'll use the turquoise for that, the blue-green. That's it. That looks like an Impressionist picture. And some of them were pretty loose like that. Some of the water lily paintings that Claude Monet did, and he did a bunch of them, were so fuzzy and so loose that I heard he didn't like them, and he got rid of them. He thought they were just too fuzzy. And he was also having a hard time with his eyes at that point. He wasn't seeing so well. Hold on, my camera is tipped over here. Okay, a little more fill in. But as I was saying, he always painted kind of fuzzy, but when he got really old, his eyes weren't working so well, and everything actually looked fuzzier to him. So he wasn't always happy with his paintings if they got too fuzzy. Okay, so that's it. That's pretty good. And one more thing I'm going to do. I'm going to take my white, and you really can't see white when you're coloring white on top of white paper. But white is nice for kind of mixing things. Okay, I can go over my crayon, my blues and my greens. And the white will kind of mix it together a little bit, make it even a little more soft and impressionistic looking. Okay, there it is. A little more green on those lily pads. This is what you do when you're an artist. You work on something and you look at it and you think, oh, it needs a bit more of this, a bit more of that. But you kids, you don't have to worry about that. You don't have to fuss. You just do the little ovals, green ovals, light green if you have it, and then some water. But remember, just kind of dab it on with your crayon as best you can. It takes a little time, okay? You have to be patient. But you'll have yourself a nice picture, a nice impressionist picture. Okay, so that's it for today. That was our French lesson, a little lesson about the great French impressionist painter Claude Monet. All right, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you're able to make something on your own, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.